Good morning, our guests joining our meeting online. Can you hear me, see me? Just to be sure to start our today's. Yes, I see thumbs up here. Okay. So good morning, everyone. I am Associate Professor Dr. Simona Grigaliūnienė. I represent Klaipėda University and I am a Vice Dean of Health Science Faculty for Development and International Relations. And I'm really glad that today I can present Klaipėda University starting implementing the Baltic Municipalities Food Coalition funded by the Interreg Baltic Sea Region Program. This is a 2-year project that will equip municipalities in Klaipėda, Kurzeme, Latgale, Voruma, and Tartu region with a framework and provide a demonstration of pilot schemes on how these solutions can work in a practice using a framework. So I would like to shortly introduce a background of this project. So what is really important that the organic food is always part of the sustainable school food, and the demand for it is increasing in the Baltic states. This is important, but the availability of the organic food supply adapted to school food service is a challenge that needs to be addressed and solved. So this is the main issue of this project that will be led by the Klaipėda University and our partners that are here today. It is really nice that yesterday we officially started this kickoff by the roundtable discussion with the partners, and today we have guests from 2 gymnasiums. So we have from Baltic Gymnasium and Žemyna Gymnasium. We are pleased that you could come because these gymnasiums are the university gymnasium. Maybe someone could turn off his microphone. And we are pleased to have more guests, and especially from the public health departments, which are responsible for the for the menu in the schools, organizing the organic food. And for the start, I would like to ask our rector of Klaipėda University, Professor Dr. Artūras Razbadauskas, to say you a welcome word, please.
Good morning, dear participants here, physical participants online, organizers of meeting. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you to Klaipėda University. To start, I think it's a very important project in the future about organic food, and as we know, United Nations goals for sustainability development is very important for our future development in all areas, universities and farmers and schools and safety of food and sustainability is the main topics now, and I can say that Klaipėda University is a university creating a new one, European University Connexus, with leadership of La Rochelle University, 9 universities. We start in 2019 to create new university, new one, by decision of European Commission, and our topic is smart urban coastal sustainability, or our cities, coastal cities, and I think one of the thematic, it's a main thematic as well as food safety and agriculture is very important. I wish you an interesting discussion today, and I think that your project will be fruitful and very useful for the future. Thank you very much.
We thank you, our rector of the university, and today I would like Jennifer, one of our project partners, to present the short timetable, what we are doing today, what we are discussing. We would like to interact our social partners that I mentioned, from the schools, from the municipalities, from the associations, and of course we know that there are some local farmers here also. So we need your help to implement this project so that it would be fruitful, as it was said before. Yes. So today we would like to explain the idea. We would like to interact you into live discussions and to present the first background that we did about the project. So Jennifer, please, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm sorry for my voice. I've been talking a lot these last days. I am the project partner who is passionate about food and passionate about Baltic countries. I am from Sweden. My first initiative in this project was about smallholder farmers and their food loss and food waste. So why I connected the schools to this is because everybody in one way or another are related to the children. So that was the best way of getting everybody's attention. And you're also here today due to this. We have now 5 regions, 3 countries, 5 regions. And each region has their own priorities, their own challenges. Today, we're going to shortly go through region by region. They will present some of their focus areas and their challenges. From there, we will have some experts from Sweden who are also working various projects when it comes to farmers and school meals. After that, I kindly ask you to stay. We really need your input. Today, we will feed you with information, we will feed you with inspiration, but then after we want to hear from you as well. So this is from me for now. I would like to present the first project partner. So we do like in school, raise hand. Who will we start with? How about, Kurzeme? Yes, welcome, Elise. Thank you, you will see me more later on.
Hello to everyone. I'm really pleased to see you all here, and also hello to everyone who sees us via Zoom. So my name is Alice Luse. I represent Kurzeme Planning Region, which is one of the partners in this project. I will have some slides where I will show you a quick survey that we did during the last weeks for our municipalities regarding the challenges in this related to food, local food in schools, procurements. I will tell you about Latvia as the whole, because we are 2 partners from Latvia here in this project. It's Kurzeme region and also Latgal region. So we have one presentation on both of us. Yeah. So I hope we can get it now. Yeah. Great, we did it. So I hope also the Zoom visitors can see the presentation. So I will start on challenges and the situation in Latvia. So this is just a slide for you to see on the left and on the right. We have marked our regions so that you can imagine where we are and how big we are. So on the left side, there's this Kurzeme planning region, which I represent. It's on the western side of Latvia, and we have the longest coastline in Latvia. And on the right side, the eastern part, this is Latgal region. And we are both involved in this project, and we'll work on common challenges and common solutions to provide more local food in schools. We did small kind of statistics just also for you to see regarding Latgal planning region and Kurzeme planning region for the number of students this school year. And as you can see, of course, the majority is in the 1st to 6th grade. And this is also actually representing kind of a target audience, or the school children that we should probably concentrate on and work with in this project, because these are the children that eat at schools. These are the children which municipalities and the state is covering part of costs for the school meals. And yeah, so this is one of our kind of focus to look at this and try to promote local foods for parents, children, and schools. This is also a number of institutions of primary and secondary educations last year that we had. This is in Latgale region, so there were 110 primary and secondary educational institutions, and in Kurzeme region 123. Also, as you can see, maybe it's interesting for you just to take a look the division by municipalities and the largest cities. This is the first slide, just general information, how the food is purchased in schools in Latvia. So legal documents regulating public procurement, of course, the key document, the main one, is this public procurement law. And in addition to that, also very much related to school meals is Cabinet of Ministers regulation on green public procurement, because this is exactly what school meal should follow and relate to. And also, of course, there are some smaller regulations, but actually they are kind of interrelated to procurement and to providing school meals. It's regulations on preparing public meals, and also regulations stating the ceiling on covering meal costs per pupil. And in Latvia, it's just for you to know, around 2 euros per pupil from first to fourth grade. And the involved players in this whole system, so to say, is of course the schools itself. And then there are a lot of stake for municipalities to do, because they are the ones who actually do the procurement, because schools kind of provide the procurement, procurement specialists with what they need. And procurement specialists are actually the ones having the majority of responsibility to make this procurement as good as possible, and actually trying to get these local foods on their list, on their contract, so to say. Of course, the farmers itself, food service providers, because there are, of course, schools which do not just prepare the meals at the school itself, but where it is kind of provided by a food service provider. And also there are intermediary bodies. And also I have mentioned some associations and Latvian Rural Advisory Training Center, which plays also some kind of a role, because they are the ones which farmers or procurement specialists or schools can ask for help, for some assistance in whole this process. And then I will move on now to these, as I mentioned, this small survey, these small, simple 8 questions, which we tried before this meeting to ask our municipalities in our schools to answer. This is exactly relating to what are our challenges in this area, and why are we actually having this project, because we really need it. And the first one was, are there any public procurement models of locally grown foods? The idea is actually to have the more locally grown foods on the menu and at the school. And the answer, of course, is that non-permanent, but in future, municipalities kind of suggest that it would be good if the municipality can decide itself that an NGO, local NGO or social enterprise can provide some food, which actually means some kind of an exception in the public procurement law, but that could be as one of the options for some kind of a locally grown model promotion. I can also mention we have one school, which is a Striķi school in Saldus County, which actually has this model, but this is just an exception because they are a small, very small school. And when Saldus municipality did the procurement, nobody kind of applied for providing food to that school. So there was a negotiation procedure afterwards. And how this was solved, this municipality or this school, they created an NGO, an association, small one, which actually is the one who applied for this service, and they have their own chefs, and they kind of do all this and try to really get more local organic food on their menus for their children. So this is one of the options where we can see that something kind of this can work and works. And then there was a question to answer: are there any intermediary distributors in these food chains or the contracts, procurement contracts? And yes, the answer was that this is actually the most common model, that there are intermediary distributors who purchase food from, it could be also, of course, not just local, but where they can kind of get it and then provide the food to school. And what are the documents or programs that raise schools' interest to buy local foods? And we have 2 programs from the Rural Support Service called School Fruit and School Milk, which are exactly kind of meant to promote local fruits and milk for children to actually have. We also asked our municipalities and schools, would there be any possible logistical procedures for buying directly from farmers? And the answer was that, of course, none currently, because we have to follow the public procurement law. In future, it was suggested by municipalities if the public procurement law requirements could be changed. And actually, if you look the other way around, we also see that to use actually the existing frame, and we actually should use the existing frame of our current public procurement, because to change the law is actually not that easy, and it takes quite a lot of efforts and time. But according to existing public procurement frame, we also see from our neighboring regions, like for example in Vitseme, where they are a little bit one step ahead of us probably. This could be done also within the existing frame, because it actually takes a lot of efforts from the public procurement specialist, the municipality itself, for him to be passionate about bringing local foods and organic food to menus, to schools, because it can be done. But of course, it takes a lot of time and effort, and requires some knowledge how to correctly organize the procurement, the lots to split, how to split them. And yeah, so this is actually one direction that we will try to work on finding those tips, so to say, and raising the capacity and skills of our procurement specialists. We also had a question about nutrition education and curriculum, about the integration of nutrition education in curriculum. And all schools replied that yes, they have a lot of activities in this area. They do projects, camps, helping local farmers to harvest actually the fruits and products. There is also lots of materials for teachers or for children as well at the website PNSaugļskola.lv, where also a lot of learning and good foods and nutrition aspects are kind of compiled. And also this nutrition education is part of various other subjects like chemistry, natural sciences, social sciences, and biology. We also asked municipalities and schools to define the role of municipalities in food strategies. And they replied basically that it is quite a small one, because it has to do the procurement and purchase foods according to the existing frame of the public procurement law, and it does not make kind of a lot of move possible. But basically, what municipalities also do, they decide on increasing limits for covering meal costs to schools if they have the money and possibility to do that, and they can also decide on having more biological foods on their procurements. And then there was an open question, just to maybe mention some more challenges, what municipalities and practitioners that actually work with procurement for school meals, what they are meeting with in their everyday work. And these are some aspects that were mentioned. For example, to what could be one challenge or obstacle for local farmers to provide food and take part at procurement procedures is that local farmers lack the relevant certificates. And probably this should be then analyzed in a way to try and understand why are they simply not wanting to, or is it a too complicated procedure to have these certificates, or are there any too high requirements maybe, or maybe it is just too costly for them to do. The other one was that local farmers can't provide the required quantities on their own, and that is actually, it is a problem, and it requires some I don't know, probably some cooperation possibilities, like having cooperatives of some 4 or 5 farmers, and where they can try and then bring the necessary quantities. And one example which was mentioned also as so to say a representative one of an obstacle is that local milk has this fat percentage which is higher than the regulations suggest, this 2.5, which could be an obstacle. And also, will the Food and Veterinary Service accept the analysis made locally by farmers as sufficient? We kind of tried to put here one video, but I'm quite sure that, let's see if it can actually play, but it seems that not. There was a child eating a very deliciously fruits and vegetables, and the message which we wanted actually to say you from Latgale and Kurzeme is that also Jennifer mentioned in the very beginning, this is our kids, what we actually work for, it's our future, and that's why it is important for us. That's why we are passionate about it. And that's why we are having this project. And we do hope on our municipalities and also our partners from Estonia, Sweden, Lithuania, that together we can try and actually find some good solutions and possibilities to bring more local food on our school meals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for really interesting presentation, for doing the background already. And I really liked the final idea. It's really a shame that we couldn't see this video, yes, but of course I fully agree with our colleague, our team member. I can say, yes, this is our goal for the future. Yes, we are doing this not only to promote this project, we are doing this for our kids, also for our environment and for our future generations even. And now I would like to ask our Varuma, yes, colleague to present. Ivor, okay.
Yes, our logo, it's in Estonian Võrumaa Development Center. My name is Aivar Nigol and I am an advisor of Development Center and project member for Food Coalition project. And some words and overview, yes, about our organic movements. Of course, it's a new way, and we are in the beginning, but we started in our county a couple of years ago, and now I am showing facts about Estonia. It's organic production is in Estonia on year 2021. You could see how many hectares was land under organic and organic producers, more than 2,000 farmers and firms, and the harvesting area was quite big if compared to probably to other places, and nearly 200 organic processors in Estonia, and the market is not very big, of course. It's in millions, nearly 50 million. It's a organic market in Estonia in the euros. Next slide, please.
Of course.
And yesterday, when was our meeting in Klaipėda, we already mentioned that we have a Estonian catering eco-label system, and we have 3 different levels. That means if you reach example 20 up to 50% of organic raw material in your catering. That means you could get a first level. It's 20 up to 50. The second level is 50 up to 80%, and of course our main goal to get the third level in catering ecosystem. Next slide, please. Yes, we have already did special research in our county, and we search that how our market is, how many schools and kindergartens are included to our system, and what is the amount of the needs of the organic food in a total, and how many producers and the farmers are able to produce at first organic food and to sell it to kindergartens and the school in our region. And if to look to a map, we have altogether 45 different educational institutions in Võru County, and currently already 19 of these are reach the first level. It's 20 up to 50%, but we are talking about 20% at least, and it's a first step, and our goal. The next.
Next slide, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And may I talk about our activities so far, and if to mention, we have already been a couple of projects which was arranged as a piloting in a schools and kindergartens. It was chosen by us 10 pilot schools and kindergartens where we did the piloting, and was held already 3 different projects which was financed by partnership program. We have such a leader program, and from a leader program we have already got different financing to develop our organic movements. And there was organized meetings for organic producers, and we are mapped a situation in 10 pilot schools in terms of school cooks, prices, volumes of raw materials, and so on. And we also did one study tour, which was together with representatives of county municipalities, and we visited schools in Copenhagen, Malmö, Växjö, and Landskrona, and it helps very much to raise a knowledge of the municipalities and officials how to go over and to use more organic in caterings, and also different study tours for school cooks to organic kitchens, example to Tartu and to Tallinn, and for overview opportunities and the aspects of menus, logistics, security, and supply and price policy. And we have already have a special menu book, which was also made by us during these 3 projects, and it's like a good tool and a good tool for school cooks to prepare and to be better in organic food and in the kitchens. Next slide, please. And also, which is important to mention, that very important to have a practical trainings for school cooks, how to use organic raw materials, and in also different trainings, roundtables, and we are very much active to also to share problems and experiences, because it's also it's needed to get to know better and to share experiences, and it helps to pilot schools, and also to act another additional schools which are not going over yet, but we are hoping that they are getting experiences and will make the decisions to go to organic. And family days, which are also very important to introduce organic food by itself. And we have had organic food days in different pilot schools, and where we used the master chefs from different restaurants, and the names are known in Estonia, which are also important, that people could see that the master chefs are also using organic food material, and they could cook and do the good food, and cooking lessons, and also with master chefs. Next slide, please. And there is also some facts. We have had 10 roundtables. We have family days and practical trainings. I was showing here how many times we did such actual trainings. Next, please. And what is coming up in this year? We have a plan that could be 2 trainings for beginners, because now the next step to beside of the 10 pilot schools to enlarge the numbers of the school, and we choose another 10 school kindergartens where we could make a trainings and different days, and the main idea how to achieve 20% use of organic plant raw materials in the kitchens. It's the easiest way to go over to change example plant raw material to achieve 20% at first. Next slide, please. Mm-hmm. And what was magic and a very important point for our municipalities and for our county was 2 years ago when we signed an organic agreement, which was signed by 5 municipalities. Leaders of municipalities was a signer, and signed also by Development Center of Võru County and by Setomaa Union, who was very active in development of the organic. And there was goodwill agreement to increase the share of organic food by 20% in our educational institutions to the year 24. And it's a picture when they signed the agreement in Rõuge school. Next, please. Mm-hmm. And what is also important, recognition events for school cooks. we have had already 2 times such a appreciation lunch for school cooks. One was in 2 years ago, and last was a year ago. And we are choosing normally the best places, good restaurants or Bishop Castle was last year, and it's helps us to activate cooks, and also it's a good way to make attention to our main activeness and also to the cooks, because they are very important persons from whom we are achieving trying to achieve our goals. Next, please. And another important issue was when our development center was ordering special research, and our partner was Organic Center of Estonian University of Life Sciences, who did research and analysis of implementation of organic agreement was a main task. And from the research, we got an overview about our current situation and the bottlenecks in educational institutions in Võru County. Also, we got an overview of the volumes, organic raw materials, and potential producers. And also, we got a tool for monitoring the use of organic raw materials and action plans for achieving the goals of organic agreement. We agreed the actions for next 4 years period. And I mentioned here our challenge to solve problem of organic raw material. That means we have a goal to activate more our farmers to go over, or to enlarge volume of organic in producing, and also to build up a network and the cooperation between farmers and users of organic food. Example, our municipalities and the schools and kindergartens and the heads of institutions. It's a very important task. What I mentioned, that we are hoping that also Food Coalition project is helping us to achieve this goal. Next, I think it's my thanks to you for listening, and of course I was also write my answers to the questions which was sent it by document file, and there are written up our legal aspects and also what was asked in the questionnaire. I hope that it was helping to you to understand our action so far, and is helping to go forward with our United project. Thank you.
Thank you, Aivar. Applause goes to you from Klaipėda. It's a shame that you couldn't be here today. But thank you for your interesting presentation, and thank you for doing and making an effort to changing the situation, integrating the local food and organic food. So now, Jennifer.
I just would like to add that thank you very much, Aivar, and Alisa, to you as well. You have quite highlighted also the different level of work you're doing, and how much in some areas you're more forefront, in some areas you're more forefront, and in some areas. I think it's Sven from Tartu is very eager to do his presentation.
Hello, do you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I need to share the screen.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, okay. We now we're jumping to Tartu and have from our other project partners to demonstrate his presentation.
Hello from Tartu region. We are at the moment in Estonian University of Life Sciences, and I am Sven Kobeluks. I am head of Association of Municipalities of Tartu County, and I'm one of the lead of our region. And with me are my colleagues from different municipalities from Tartu County. And I'm going to show you a bit broader view. Thank you for Aivar for having quite concrete presentations from Võru County, but we are going to start a bit broader view because this year our partner organization, Tartu County Development Association, conducted Tartu County Food Strategy, which was the first food strategy in Tartu County. And I'm going to show you our so-called the main challenges, the main principles, our vision and strategic goals. And I want to tell you that the sustainable school food and also organic food is our one of the main focus areas in this strategy. But we are doing a bit broader view for this meeting. Yeah, I'm going to our main challenges. It is also concerned with school food. As you know, the procurement, the regulations and laws in also Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania are quite strict. We can't have our local food. We have to buy from Poland. Otherwise, we can buy in Tartu County, because at the moment we can't buy in Tartu County or in the south of Estonia because the regulations are very strict, and we can't prefer our local farmers. As it's also a problem with organic food. At the moment, in Tartu County we have 56 schools who are, like Aivar mentioned, in Võru County, there are 19 schools who are at the first level, but in Tartu County we have 56 schools, 54 from city of Tartu and 2 schools from other municipalities in Tartu County. So we can see that we have quite very good in city of Tartu, but we have lots of challenges in other municipalities to get this first level of organic food in school meals. The other thing is to hold awareness by people, by students, by institutions, schools, and also farmers. What is organic food? How to get healthy food from local producers, and etc. The third big challenge is the sustainable management of resources, mainly food waste, and also how to decrease the CO2 footprint in producing our local food. Fourth big challenge is collaboration network and distribution lines. In Tartu County, we don't have that good collaboration network at the moment like you have in Võru County, but I think Võru County is a good example how to get the network running and how to involve different partners from different municipalities and also local producers and farmers. Our main principles in Baltic County food strategy. valuing local produce, innovation, collaboration and cooperation, and distinct character and versatility. We have a conscious choice in both the public and private sectors, and both in industrial as well as catering enterprises. That we value the local products, preferably in the future organic products in school meals, and also different institutions which are managed also by local municipalities and also by private sector. The second is the innovation. At the moment, we are in a big, having this conference in Tartu, in our biggest innovation center in Estonia. I would tell it's Estonian Life Sciences University, and we have a big opportunity as well as challenge how to get the synergies between municipalities and universities and also private sector. I think we have lots of potential for research and also different development actions. Collaboration and cooperation, what we mean by that? All involved parties participate actively in development of the food scheme. That's why we are also taking part of this Baltic school meal food coalition project. We want to evolve this area and get more organic food and also local food to our school meals in Tartu County. Distinct character. We have quite a versatile food scheme in Tartu County. There are lots of successful large industrial enterprises, as well as authentic local small-scale businesses operating in a variety of sectors that honor the local traditions. We have lots of actions at the moment going, but as I previously mentioned, we need to have more synergies, more cooperation between different parts from private sector and also public sector, which is really important. Our main vision by 2030, Tartu County is well-known food region in Estonia and Europe. As I mentioned, public and private sector caterers mainly use local producers, preferably organic food in the future. We have science-based innovative approach. People in Tartu County value healthy and local food. The food scheme is vibrant, boasting a wide variety of actively involved companies and organizations. And cooperation and collaboration part is really important. We have a big ambition also in Tartu region and in Tartu County. We want to be in the future, in near years, one of the so-called food capitals of Europe in near years. That's our one of the objectives. We'll see how this is happening or which time, but we have a big ambition. And 4 big parties to our strategic goals and areas. Efficient exchange of information and knowledge among producers, caterers, and consumers. Local food is easily available for everyone. That is also one part of this Baltic food coalition projects, to get different producers, different procurement institutions together to find the right solutions. The second big area is, like I mentioned before, we have innovative and science-based solutions, which are ecologically friendly and place high value on local resources. The high value, the added value is also really important, because through that we can pay higher salaries to our local people. The third big strategic goal is that we have a distinctive and common brand in Tartu County, and also the key representatives of the sector use the brand, and it is well known across in Estonia and internationally. And the fourth and the last big goal is that the people in Tartu County are conscious consumers of healthy local food. Food waste and carbon footprint in the sector have reduced. That is also part of our bigger goals through Tartu development strategy, where the sustainability is one of our four main focus areas. As you see, we have lots of synergies and opportunities in Tartu County. And I would tell you that the city of Tartu has done a really good job, but we have lots of things done in other municipalities. But in my point of view, we can see lots of potential with cooperation between municipalities and other sectors. Yeah, thank you for. It was my last slide.
Thank you so much, Sven, for your presentation. I think we will start to have quite of an overview now on how your vision and goals are, but at the same time as well with your challenges. And I'm happy so far all project partners are happy to join this project. We have Egle from Klaipėda, one other project partner, stuck somewhere in the traffic, I assume. So we will have Julia from Klaipėda University jumping in a little bit and giving a view of the situation in Klaipėda.
Dear partners, thank you for your patience. It's some technical issues. So let me start now. So the presentation about the situation in Lithuania will be done by me and my colleagues from Klaipėda University, Dr. Simona and Professor Inga. Yes, she's here. And unfortunately, our partner, Egle, who is actually director of Klaipėda Region Association, has stuck in the traffic jam, but she will come. Actually, our presentation is done in two parts. I will present the main probably legal issues, and Egle is supposed to provide some practical insights. So I strongly hope that she will come in time, but if no, that maybe later, yeah, we will discuss. So actually, we as coordinating partner at the university, I mean, we have provided some home assignment for all partners to keep to some questions and according to these questions to describe the situation in their countries or in their regions. So let me also keep to this order and answer the given questions. But first of all, I also want to start from our geographical location. I hope that you already know, and who is participating now from our partners can see it in reality. But if taking into account the map, so that's how we look like. We are quite big. So I'm in Klaipėda region, and of course, Klaipėda city, Klaipėda town is the main one. So, and now I'm moving to the questions that I have mentioned, and the first one was about the legal documents that regulate procurement of food services in general education schools and catering of meals in general education schools. And here I should mention that in Lithuania, of course, we are quite bureaucratic, and all these things are, of course, and it's obvious, regulated by the ministry. Here, I can say that the main legal act is regulated by the Minister of Health Protection of the Republic of Lithuania, and this is the order on the approval of the procedures for the organization of food and preschool education, general education schools, and as well in children's social care institutions. So Egle is here. And the second main document is the description of the procedure for organizing of children feeding that is also issued by the Minister of Health Protection of the Republic of Lithuania. So on the one hand, actually we have these main documents. On the other, maybe we are a little bit less advanced than other partners, especially Estonian, who have very effective system and a lot of different initiatives. But still, we hope that this particular project will give us the perfect stimuli to start the discussion on the regional level, on the Klaipėda Municipality level, about what actually can be improved and developed in order to start the perfect dialogue between school and farms and to improve the conditions to develop this networking. So besides these two mentioned documents, of course, we have a lot of additional legal acts that somehow regulate food, meals, catering, and other things that are related to our topic. These are different hygiene norms, veterinarian norms, and so on and so forth. I shouldn't go deeply into details because it's quite, again, bureaucratic, but still it's again a challenge for our schools, for our educational sector, because they have to keep to them. And when you really deal with a problem, it seems very difficult because a lot of different norms and you have to know them. So sometimes it really restricts a bit a desire to cooperate in the field. But later on, I will explain this in clearly. So besides, again, we have a lot of related acts that are coming probably mostly from European Commission, and these are probably new, innovative things that also regulate as a procurement system, as well as other aspects, like, for example, different acts on organic production, labeling of organic products. So these things are relevant, they are interesting, they bring novelties into our legal system. And of course, they are important for us, for our topic. So the next question was about how foods and services related to foods and other related facilities are purchased by schools. So here we need to know that in Lithuania and in Klaipėda region particularly, schools are responsible for creating conditions for organizing children meals. However, schools in Lithuanian system have owners. These owners are usually municipalities, less usual Ministry of Education and Sports. Actually, what it means that the owner or a person authorized by him, so somebody enters into the contract for the provision of catering services for children in schools. And the contract must include a responsibility for ensuring the hygiene requirements for catering premises. So all these things are defined by these hygiene requirements and other documents mentioned in the first slide. So, and of course, the responsible person should know the requirements of all those legal acts that I already have also mentioned. Some exceptions and some interesting things are regarding fruit, vegetables, berries, potatoes, and other raw materials. So actually here there are some more additional legal acts that regulate purchasing of these particular things. This is veterinary service acts and state food acts and others. So, but in case if the school grows this particular fruit, vegetables, berries, and potatoes, then other norms regulate these things that are safety requirements set by other regulations and also hygiene norms. So, regarding the organic or ecological food, there is only one point that in a way mentions this issue and gives just recommendational information that when concluding contracts for food, it is recommended to give priority to so that supplied raw materials and food products would meet the requirements of organic production and labeling of organic products. So actually no more particular and concrete information on this point is provided in the legal acts, but recommendation as a priority has been given. What about the public procurement in Lithuania? So actually the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Health provides the link to the guidelines for the procurement of food products. This document, the guidelines, have been developed in the boundaries of the project funded by European Social Fund. And this is actually a methodological tool which is of a recommendational nature. And but we have probably do not have some other documents. So this document serves as a guidelines for the purchase of food products. And its purpose is to identify and publicize good practices in this particular field. So, however, this is probably the insight from practice that according to municipalities and farmers, the biggest problem today is still rather the procurement system is very much complicated and the procedures are really very complicated. And this is the challenge for small farmers who really cannot ensure the diversity of the assortment, and they struggle in the competition because it is easier for municipalities to choose one large supplier who will deliver all the necessary products. And however, on the other hand, small farms predominate in Lithuania, and due to that, to the mentioned fact about all those complicated procedures, it is difficult for them to operate in market conditions. Especially, we have some limiting factors such as coronavirus pandemic and other things. So the third question was about how local foods are promoted. Is it possible for farmers to supply schools with local foods directly? Are there any intermediary distributors to help supplying from local farmers to schools? Well, we as researchers actually do not have direct and information to answer these questions. We have probably to start communicating with these suppliers, with farmers themselves, and this will be the task of our project first of all, and then to collect this information. We can only share now what we have from the legal acts, as I said, and the main point is that actually the Ministry of Agriculture of Lithuania raises the question of how to make food chains more effective, how to shorten them. So this is a very good and very important point. And the Ministry of Agriculture actually promotes short supply chains. And there are a lot of initiations that aim at enabling local producers to provide their products to public institutions. And the role of municipalities is very important in this point, because as they state that partnership is one of the main ways how to expand the market for local products, to form permanent conditions between consumers and producers. But this is speaking generally, not about general education schools, but the overall context. So there are, again, some initiatives on the level of ministries that are dedicated to this particular point of supply chains. And one of the recent, probably, and funded again by European Union, if I'm not mistaken, it was the program of rural development. And one of the priorities of this programs was that the activity area support for promoting short supply chains in local markets and at the local level. And the project that was carried out showed that actually local suppliers are really interested in this initiative, and even the number of application for funding that was increased up to almost 30 showed that really farmers are interested in these things. Also it shows that local farmers are actively looking for ways to educational institutions. We have the program for preschool educational institutions that is financed by Ministry of Agriculture, and it also shows that farmers are interested in promoting of their food products to educational sector. What else should I mention here? That yes, about these intermediaries or intermediary distributors. Again, there is a point of a recommendational nature. Then when searching for the supplier, there is one criteria for selecting applicants, that the short chain, the chain should be short, and there should be no more than one intermediary between the user and the grower. So we have this recommendation. But again, some insight from practice is that currently the system of regional food logistic centers is being developed in Lithuania. However, only the first steps have been taken, and everything should be improved. But we hope it's a task for the future. Moving further, the question number 4 was about overall national or regional documents or programs that raise the school interest to purchase a variety of fresh local food. So there are some initiatives, but actually we have no separate legal regulations. Usually they are integrated into other programs or requirements. That is because of everything that deals food actually has very high quality requirements. And since, as I mentioned, not all the documents are directed or focused on school meals, so probably in this point we have to focus them on the specifics of educational organizations, on schools. Yeah. So the programs and guidelines have to encourage schools to purchase a variety of fresh local products from local farmers. And this should be tailored to the requirements for food, for meals. So some insight from Klaipėda region practice. We have a certain specialization strategy for 2030. And there are some measures that are dedicated especially for food topics, and the priority is bioeconomy. And one of the points probably is that it is focused on the promotion of the application of green public procurement. So that means that municipalities will deal with some changes, and probably they are starting to work actively on the creation of short food supply chains, and when organizing catering services in Klaipėda region, in schools and hospitals and other institutions that are in their area. And it means that procurement system will also undergo some changes. It will change, and probably that will bring some positive positive things. So what are the possible logistical procedures for buying food directly from farmers? Again, to answer this question, probably we should address farmers themselves, and maybe hopefully we will have representatives from farmers here even today who will be able to answer this question in more details. Usually it depends on the, usually schools build contracts, have contracts with entrepreneurs, and those entrepreneurs, they cater meal food services for schools, and they are responsible for catering and for buying and for buying special products from different suppliers. Logistics when choosing small farms may be limited again by public procurement. Different criterion can be important here: price, quantity of products, and so on. Again, in some cases, different logistical conditions could be affected by the number of students in school, whether it is big or smaller school. Again, there are some programs that help to simplify the suppliers of food from small farmers to larger schools, like, for example, agricultural program to create short food supply chain that was already mentioned. And again, the model that model of regional food logistics centers could help in this situation, but maybe later on Egle will add some more information about this, about how it is being developed now on our municipality level. So the sixth question addressed schools and their practice. We asked if there are any promotional activities of experiential learning or something similar to that in schools, and those activities that are related to healthy nutrition, nutrition education, food related education. So how these things go, because it is also very important, as we said, that we have to educate our community, and these activities would show how schools themselves are interested in such cooperation from the educational perspective. So again, here we need maybe more research, but what we know now that in kindergartens, as I mentioned, because they have these programs, children have even small gardens where they can grow some vegetables and herbs. Also in schools, usually there are some curricular events when health, nutrition topics and food related topics are integrated in the curriculum. But here we as researchers would be eager to learn more about practice in schools, and of course we hope that our project will serve us with more information. So the seventh question was about the roles of municipalities in the implementation of food strategies. As I mentioned already, so usually in Lithuania, as usual in Lithuanian educational systems, the owners of schools are municipalities. That means that they have to adopt and approve the main documents that regulate the food meal system, catering, and other systems. So I have mentioned several documents that are valid here in our Klaipėda city municipality. What else we can tell about our city? That we have 33 general educational schools, and we have some information that only 4 schools organize meals themselves. In other schools, food is produced and sold by 8 private companies, entrepreneurs, yeah, and that are usually selected through a public tender because it's a requirement. And what is important here, that usually the contract lasts for 1 or up to 3 years, but in reality, private companies, they are maybe, how to say, they are, due to schools face problems of catering, because they often, as I said, buy services from entrepreneurs, and these recent challenges, COVID and high prices and rising prices, they demotivate entrepreneurs to deal with schools, and they are not very much interested in continuing contracts. So this is the problem. But again, maybe our my colleagues will add in this place why it takes place and what actually, which measures are taken by municipalities to solve these problems. And again, the next point that should be mentioned, that the procurement system is going to be changed, and municipalities will become purchasing organizations, and it means that they will be able to participate in centralized public procurement. So probably this will simplify the efforts. And for further considerations, as I said, maybe here in Klaipėda region, we are a little bit less advanced in comparison with our partners. And that is why this project is of a particular importance for us. And we hope to start a general mutual discussion with all interested parties, with all interested stakeholders. And this discussion will lay a start for further important activities that will lead to further development of farm to school program. So what we can mention here, first of all, that in reality, the biggest problem is the lack of necessary infrastructure. Neither the heads of schools nor the farmers have time and ability to devote their efforts to paperwork and documents of public procurement, and to other things that are, as I mentioned, regulated by different hygiene, veterinarian norms, and so forth, as well as to the logistics and to the inspection of goods, because really this complicated procurement system probably limits these things. Also, again, this system is not developed and probably does not work smoothly in the moment. It is difficult for small farmers to provide purchases and to ensure large quantities of products needed. That is why usually, as I mentioned, institutions just select big suppliers from whom they can buy everything they need. So this requires the cooperation of regional food chains and farmers. But at the moment, it seems difficult directly for farmers themselves, first of all. And today there are legal options to buy food products from farmers, but as I mentioned, they are already included into the legal acts, but the path is quite complicated. So just few local suppliers choose it. Everything requires time, desire, and seeing a wider picture. I mean, having a vision why we do it and what is our purpose. Sometimes it's not just marketing, but even social purposes like contributing to healthy nutrition, to education of food-related education, and so on and so forth. So we are not talking about the profit probably in all cases, but sometimes we have wider social goals. And another task of the region is to promote information and education of population. And probably we even would put it to the first place, because we think that we should start from education of our community. And we have to start focusing on why local products and locally produced food are probably more useful, more ecological, healthier, and better for all of us. So this is probably, again, one of the main points of our project and what we can stress and emphasize during all our activities. So why sometimes it is worth buying less by getting on all around quality and ecological and quality products. So that is all from my side. Thank you for your attention. Maybe somebody will, from my colleagues, will add something. Okay, thank you.
We had one perspective, and now we're having, how to say, as a complementary to what you said.
Something additional. Hello, everybody. First of all, sorry I was a bit late, but we had a political meeting, so I'm sending greetings from the regional mayors to all of you. Anyway, I have not much to add from what Julia said. She really got a quite extensive overview of what is happening in Lithuania and how our legal acts is valid and so on. Maybe I could share some insights on what is happening actually in the region and in the municipalities. By the way, I'm a representative of Klaipėda region local municipalities association that was established for solving common issues, challenges, and problems and projects. So food chains in the broader perspective is one of the topics we are working on. As Julia mentioned, it's a part of our regional specialization. And then that's why it's a really important topic for us. And from a municipal perspective, I can say that our district, or if I can say, rural municipalities are working really intensively on that. They're trying to gather all the local farmers to talk with them, to figure out what are the main problems and challenges they are facing and how municipalities could help to solve them. However, as it was mentioned before, there is not everything cannot be changed by the municipalities itself, and probably the main aspect here is the cooperation and hearing each other and cooperating. On the other hand, we have some good examples in Klaipėda region from Klaipėda district municipalities, kindergartens that are working with local farmers and providing food by them. Also, just recently, we have one regional initiative from local farmers that combined their efforts and established joint company. We have a representative of them. Andrus is sitting here, who is interested to talk more, I guess. We also have some farmers from Klaipėda region here. So if you are really interested in talking, you're welcome to do that. But basically, as it was mentioned, we have a challenge with a national law and procurement system that is complicated for the small farmers to enter. However, on the other hand, we have a will from regional municipalities to help them to solve that. And of course, we have a huge common interest from everyone to have local ecological and healthy products for our children. So I believe it's a question of cooperation and finding issues and probably addressing national authorities, spreading regional local challenges or the challenges from the municipalities and the farmers to the national governments, and hoping that everything might be solved during the time. And probably we all want like a quick fix or quick wins, but probably in this case it's not going to happen like that, and it will be a process. However, I'm really happy to see that this topic is really relevant on the regional agenda, also on the national agenda, and with that attention from everyone, hopefully we will move forward progressively. Well, yeah, not that much to add actually. Maybe from some practical aspects, we will discuss that more today, and hopefully we will hear more today how to address our challenges. And yeah, I don't know, maybe there are questions.
I will do. We're a little bit early now, and we have quite of a perspective now of different regions. I think we can take a break now and have. Let's come back within 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and then we'll have a little bit wrap up, and then we have the other international speakers joining. Would that be okay for everyone? So you who are on screen now, take a break as well. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We have a few minutes left. We are in a full conversation here, understanding who the lovely people sitting here that you don't see. And I understand why they're here, and they look forward to have some international perspective as well. We have few minutes, and I think everybody is set for the next presentation. We're gonna have three. I'm just gonna brief you in. We're gonna have three presentations, two coming from Sweden and one from Finland. After that, the presentation will be, we will just have a short wrap up and telling what's going to happen next. Then anyone who has joined online, you will be off the hook. We will have live workshops, but we will send out as well some survey questions for all of you that have registered, and hopefully you will help us to answer some of the questions. But I think we are quite ready to roll because our audience is here, and I see that Ulrika Backlund from Sweden that is waving is here, and everybody is okay with English, so there's no issues. So have your own pace, and I will leave the floor to you. You can present yourself and the project. So test first that your presentation works.
Yes, thank you so much, Jennifer. I'll try to share my screen first. And first of all, let me just say that I'm so sorry for my voice being a bit rocky today. I hope you can all live with that. Unfortunately, I've recently been sick, and yeah, so my voice is still a bit rocky. Well, I'll start by presenting myself. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here, although in a digital way. But my name is Ulrika Backlund, and I work as a project manager for sustainable diets for WWF Sweden. So I will speak a little bit about an EU project that's called School Food for Change. And within that project, my role is to lead the work on communications and outreach, but I'm also responsible for coordinating our Swedish participation and national contribution into that EU project. So as such, I will give you a brief overview of the School Food for Change project, what it's about, and the approaches and the focus areas that the project aims at tackling. I will also try to give a short introduction to what we call a mission-oriented approach and how that actually connects to the School Food for Change project and also other school food-focused innovation projects in Sweden. Hopefully that will land us in a place where I'll share my personal thoughts on what Swedish school meals can and actually need to develop to then become the best that they can be, because that should be every nation's goal. That's my personal my personal idea about school meals. And I will try to highlight areas where I think that we've already come a long way in Sweden, but also, of course, areas that we need to develop in. And hopefully this can maybe bring you some inspiration or coincide in some ways with the mission of your future project. So let's start. So actually starting up by saying that what I will be sharing here today about the School Food for Change project is actually on behalf of the whole School Food for Change consortium. And that consortium is consisting of as many as 43 organizational partners spread across 12 different European countries and 16 cities and regions in Europe. So these 16 cities and regions are the ones that you can actually see plotted out in this map. And as you can see, some of them are within your area as well. So we have project partners in Estonia, where we have, among others, the Municipality of Vimsi and the Municipality of Tallinn with us in the School Food for Change project. And coordinating the Estonian national participation is the Stockholm SEI, Stockholm Environmental Institute in Tallinn. So the entire project is, so the entire European project is actually coordinated by an organization called ICLE that's working with local and regional authorities for greater sustainability. And they're located in Belgium, in Brussels. So what is this School Food for Change project about then? So this project aims to bring systemic solutions to systemic problems around food and school food in particular. So it's essentially about shifting school meals and the arenas where it's served, schools that is, into a new paradigm, using innovative actions and new approaches, and at the same time addressing public health and territorial, social, and environmental resilience. But you could also say, or you could say, that it is about initiating a school food system transformation in over 3,000 schools in 12 countries across Europe, our estimation is that we should be able to reach about 600,000 students with our actions in the project. And this is a very high ambition and high impact EU project that will be going on for 4 years. So it's funded until the end of 2025. So we actually just started at the beginning of this year in January. So you might be wondering, okay, so how will they bring about this change? But before I tell you how we're planning on making this system change happen, I think that we all need to be on the same terms concerning why this change is needed. So why do we need to change the school meals system in these different countries? Well, you might have heard this been mentioned before, either by maybe the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, or maybe by a scientist called Johan Rockström, a Swedish scientist, or maybe by someone else. But it's kind of general knowledge today that transforming food systems is crucial for delivering all the Sustainable Development Goals. So somehow you could always connect food and food systems to the different grand challenges that we are all facing today. And as a part of this food system, our different nations have school food systems. So you could say that the school food systems are kind of a small food system in themselves. And that's why we will be working with school food systems as kind of a test or experiment on how to transform the greater food system. But to get any type of change to happen, and never mind the system change, we need to do something different from what we're already doing, right? I hope you're with me there, because I mean, if we just keep on doing what we've always done, we can't really expect the future to show us anything else than what we are already seeing. So to be able, so to say this is our current food system, if we want the current food system to show us something else here in future aid than we're already seeing, we need to also do new things. We need to think in new ways. We need to maybe collaborate with new people to be able to get this future aid to happen. If not, if we just keep on doing what we've always been doing, then future B will probably be the solution or the future for us. So that's the logic behind it. But the good thing here is, so the good thing about system change is that it looks like you need to do like grand changes in the system to be able to get something to happen. But actually, even small shifts and small changes can produce big changes in the system. You just need to find the right entry points or right pressure points, maybe you could say, to adjust and to push to get things to happen in the system. And this is the idea and the thought behind what School Food for Change will be doing during these 4 years to come. And this actually brings us to the idea of working with a mission-oriented approach. So what does a mission-oriented approach mean? It sounds really complex and theoretical. Well, a mission-oriented approach is essentially about changing entire systems. So this requires a cross-disciplinary perspective and a commitment from actors of all levels. So it's about breaking silos and allowing actors who otherwise do not meet to actually discuss problems and solutions together. So the purpose in a mission-oriented approach is for everyone to work in the same direction with a common goal in focus. What distinguishes a mission-oriented approach is, among other things, the co-creation to understand and take on specific challenges. Sorry. It also needs to be a mix of top-down and bottom-up perspectives and activities. It needs to be a joint effort with a bold goal, and it should be coordinated by actors with different roles in the system. So for School Food for Change, that bold mission that have gathered our consortium is the mission to make sure that every child in the EU should have access to a healthy and sustainable meal. I'm just going to drink some coffee. Hopefully that helps my throat. Sorry for that. So missions and mission-oriented approaches is something that in particular the European Union is working more and more on. And if you want to read more about this and think this, well, this approach seems interesting afterwards, these are a few sources of information that you can go to. So for example, I've listed the yellow book here. That's called A Cookbook for System Change. And this is published by the Nordic Council of Ministers, and it actually evolves around food and food system transformation and how to apply a mission-oriented approach into food system challenges. I've also listed an example from the Swedish Innovation Agency called Vinnova. It's a playbook about how to design missions, but there's also frameworks and a lot of information from the European Union itself on how to work on missions and what missions are. So this was just a very brief introduction of the mission-oriented approach. And so back to the School Food for Change project and the areas that we will be focusing on. And this is a very, very complex picture, and it's not there for you to scrutinize and actually see what it says. It's just an example and something to kind of lay your eyes on while I'm talking. So I mentioned before that you need to find the right entry points or acupuncture points into a system to make a real change. And there are, of course, different ways of finding these entry points when you have your bold mission. And this is the background, this very complex picture is an example from another project that's now ongoing in Sweden, and it's called A New Recipe for School Meals. And I used to be a part of that project when I worked at the Swedish Food Agency before my current job at the WWF Sweden. So this is an example of a systems map of the Swedish school meal system that also identifies possible acupuncture points for system change. And you can see these acupuncture points as dark green squares. And so luckily, most of these entry points or acupuncture points that this project in Sweden identified, they also coincide with the entry points that School Food for Change has chosen for our European project. So finally, how will School Food for Change plan on bringing about system change? So what's the project idea for School Food for Change? Well, to reach these ambitious School Food for Change goals that we've set up and to ensure an inclusive shift to these sustainable and healthy school meals, School Food for Change will be focusing on three main approaches that each target a slightly different level of the school food system. So these three approaches are to drive development and implementation of sustainable food procurement in the participating cities. So the aim is to bring the food procured in the cities more in line with the EU Farm to Fork strategy and the Sustainable Development Goals. And the other approach is about training and empowering cooks and chefs in planetary healthy diets and cooking. The third approach that you can see here with the heart, so sorry, is what we call the whole school food approach. And the whole school food approach is a newly developed framework aiming at gathering the whole school around working with food as a central theme to reach different kinds of goals. So these goals could be, for example, health and well-being of the school children, democracy issues, student-centered solutions, learning goals and education for sustainable development, collaboration and involvement from the community around the schools, etc. So looking at these three main areas from a Swedish perspective, what do I personally think that we in Sweden can do or learn, do more or do different? So I would consider this sustainable food procurement a very, kind of low-hanging fruit in Sweden. This is an area where I think that we've already done a lot of work in Sweden, and I think that many municipalities in Sweden can actually call themselves kind of front runners in this area. So for one, we have sustainability criteria developed by one of our national agencies for public procurement in Sweden. They are being used by the majority of all Swedish municipalities when procuring food and produce for public meals. And we already also have nationally set goals within our national food strategy for example, organic public food. Many municipalities also have their own ambitious set political or internal goals for example, the amount of organic, locally sourced food or greenhouse gas emissions or things like that. We also have, helping us with this, we also have available digital systems today on the Swedish market that enables cities and municipalities to actually calculate and measure their greenhouse gas emissions from school meals in a quite easy way. So these things we already have in place. And last but not least, we have guidelines for school meals that actually incorporates and emphasizes the importance of both social and environmental sustainability already. So however, it's not entirely problem-free, this procurement issue. We still do have some work to do connected to locally sourced food. So being able to actually support and strengthen local businesses and producers at the same time as we're relating to and following the European framework that we all need to follow for public procurement. We're also struggling with some conflicts of interest now when the food prices are rising. So do we procure locally sourced food or do we procure organic foods? What do we prioritize when food prices are rising? This is something that we'll need to look into more, I think, during the upcoming year. And not to forget, how can we actually use sustainable public food procurement as a connection between production and consumption? So I think this really connects to your project. So I'm always asking myself, can we establish a greater connection between consumers, in this case, students and teachers, and the actual food producers? Could this connection be used in an educational way in the schools? I think there are loads of possibilities to actually explore here. So another area where I feel that we've already done a lot is on the culinary and professional side of producing or creating school meals. And in Sweden, we actually take pride in referring to cooks in school kitchens as school chefs. So our dining areas are not canteens in Sweden, they are school restaurants. And this whole way of changing the narrative around school food will hopefully also in the future change the perception of school meals and therefore also the food being served. But the improvement and enhancement of school meals doesn't stop there. So I think that we really need to keep on working when we still have some work to do to actually win the heart of youth, kids and students, actually get them to understand and to feel that school meals is something that they want to eat and that they like to eat. Because no meal, no matter the effort behind it, will ever be sustainable or nutritious if it doesn't end up in the stomach. So we will need to focus more on an uplift of both school chefs and the actual restaurant environment to, I think, get to the heart of this problem of getting kids and students to like being in the school meals environment and to like the school meals that are being served. And finally, the whole school food approach. This holistic and place-based framework that I mentioned earlier. So this framework looks at the entire food and education system and aims to develop a coherent approach to healthy and sustainable food-related activities in schools for sustainable development. The aim of the whole school food approach is to put food back as a central theme and to put food back to the core of the solution in schools. So kind of creating a sustainable food culture in and around schools, impacting both education, sustainability, inequalities, communities, and health. This is really an area where I think we can develop a lot in Sweden. So to not work in silos, to not work like meal services on one side and educational services on another side, but to really cooperate and work together on having food as a central theme. I think that school meals should be a mutual mission and responsibilities in school, because I mean, if you won't get an experience or education out of the school meals, if you only instead just get a meal on a plate, you will never really realize the full potential of school meals. And it's a pity because in Sweden, we put a lot of tax money and resources into our school meals. So just putting food on a plate is kind of too simple, in my opinion. We should make more out of it, and we should collaborate with the educational staff, with teachers, with health services to really make the most out of our school meals. So with this being said, I just want to kind of wrap it up by also saying that the School Food for Change strategy is to empower young people, among others, to make food system transformation happen, because children are the adults and the consumers of the future, and they can really be the change makers that we need. I think that they can influence both eating habits of their families, but also their peers, maybe their grandparents, and so on. So inclusion of youth in all types of activities in School Food for Change connected to school meals will be something that we will try to prioritize moving forward. Yeah, so that was it for me. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ulrika. I would like to, first of all, I would like to ask, is there anyone in the audience who has a question?
I would like.
Yeah, I have, Simona has a question for you, the host, but also I have.
Okay,
Please.
so Jennifer, maybe you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you were standing
Ulrika,
next to
I would like if you could share some inspiring best practices from the 3 different themes you mentioned. Sometimes it's much easier. It's very, how to say, you formulated yourself very well, but it's good to have something that is tangible that has been done, so like to inspire our audience. I would like to turn the camera as well, so you can see what we have in front of us. But
Yeah.
our laptop is so set. We have a huge, how to say, big audience here. So Ulrika, go ahead. I'm sorry I can't show you them.
No worries. I'll try to imagine. But okay, so some best practices. I would say that on the procurement, on the sustainable food procurement side, I think there are really good experiments or ideas being tested where some municipalities in Sweden are trying out what they call a dynamic purchasing platform, where you could ask for, or what do you say, tender for more locally sourced food in like shorter periods of time, where it doesn't have to be these huge amounts that municipalities usually procure. And it's like faster delivery ways from the local producer to the actual municipality. So in theory, or like in practical, in the practical sense, you could explain it like this platform works as a kind of digital market where the municipality goes out and says maybe 1 week that, okay, next week we need so and so many tons of carrot because we thought about doing a carrot cake. I don't know, just an example. And then local producers in the area around could answer that call quickly and say if they have any carrots available, if they want to sell it. And that way the municipalities can kind of gather offers from different local sources. So no one producer needs to like sell all of their produce or deliver this whole amount, but they can gather it in small bits and get a quick answer and also have more seasonality in their procurement. So I guess that's one interesting, innovative best practice on procurement. And on the training of chefs and cooks, I think a really good best practice from Sweden is where some municipalities gather their school chefs or cooks in groups and create the school menus together with them, based on seasonality, based on creativity, but also most of all based on their knowledge of what the students like and the preferences from the kids. So not just doing this like over the head of students and kids and youth, but involving them in a way like once they have a menu set or once they have a new dish that they want to introduce, they can use the students as a sensory panel, so they can actually get a sense of what they will be eating during the school year, but also get an opportunity to say what they think about it and be involved in a bigger way. So that's actually one way of really involving the kids and getting this chef-student connection in a much better way. So, and the last part about whole school food approach, I guess this really connects to your future project. I would say that it will be very interesting in exploring different ways of doing farm to school twinnings in the School Food for Change project moving forward. It's been done a bit in Sweden, but not in a regular and like structured way. And we really wish to get a structure out of this. And I know that some municipalities during the pandemic has tried digital farm to school twinnings with like FaceTiming a farmer and so on. And this could actually be done in regions where they have a longer way, or they're further away from local food production. But I think that's a very interesting way of seeing how the whole school food approach could connect this community outside of schools with food production and students and the educational part overall. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, that is why I have to say one of the strategic thinking from my side is just connecting the different projects that are ongoing when it comes to school meals. So hopefully we will be able to fill the third one for you and help you out with a good framework there. Yes, so collaboration. I am soon, we have a new speaker, but Simona, you want to ask something?
Yeah, just one. Yes, thank you once again. Really interesting presentation, and really I see that we have colliding spots that we can share, collaborate, yes, and of course I hope that you will be able to attend our conference, which is in March. We will send you the details. Of course, we will invite all the participants that are today. Some of them are already invited. My question is, of course, you have explained that the interest groups of this project is, of course, the kids, yes? But
Yes.
Maybe you have some others that you have integrated also as an interested groups of this project, because we are hiring a demand for our project to have a variety of interest groups, yes, like kids, like farmers, like schools, even maybe municipalities, public health centers, yes. So we would be interested from what angle you are planning to implement this project, and how are you planning to measure the results, yes, that it was implemented, because it is really important if you want to show the results. So maybe just shortly you could explain this to me. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, as all EU projects, I think we are structured in a way with different work packages. So essentially, one work package will be like targeting one of these each three main approaches. But aside from that, we also have work packages targeting measuring and assessing the impact of the project. So one of our organizational partners is a research partner based in Spain at the Universidad de Alcalá, but also the Stockholm Environmental Institute in Tallinn will be participating with the university to assess and make different kinds of measuring components. So for example, we will be measuring the health outcomes of changing the actual menus in schools. We will also be assessing the sensory acceptance in students when we do these changes, and also assessing the environmental impact of these menu changes and procurement changes as well. So that's one. And concerning the different stakeholders, of course, when you talk about school meal systems, there are a number of different stakeholders, but I would say our different angles are on a European stakeholder level. We aim at targeting the European commissioners as policymakers around the school meals on a European level, since this is a European project, but we also target national and local policymakers in each of the respective countries that we are working in. So those policymakers are really important stakeholders for us. And then we have, of course, teachers in schools that we need to get on board. We have chefs, professional food makers that need to cooperate with us. And of course, I think parents and the general public is a very important and influential group also when it comes to school meals. So we need to work in a lot of different angles with our communication and outreach.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ulrika. I need to, and thank you so much for also your voice. I hope we haven't.
No, it's okay.
Okay, if you have time, please feel free to join. We have 2 more sessions. Otherwise, I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next guest is Ursula. I'm really bad on pronouncing, so I'm not going to even attempt to the surname, if it's okay with you, Ursula. And she's from Helsinki University, and she will present a new tool that can be, I think, will be very useful for this project. So Ursula, I leave the floor to you, and please present yourself and the scope of your presentation today.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. Alakarve Ursula. I think my first name is harder than the last name, but yes, I come from University of Helsinki Ruralia Institute. Let me share my screen. So I represent another small Interreg BSR project that started now in October. Innovative strategies for public catering, the expansion of the Sustainable Public Meal Toolkit. We are a bit shorter than the BSR Food Coalition. We run only for 18 months. And I'm here to present you this running current project, but also the background that we are like continuing on. As a general note on the StratKit Plus project, we have recognized that the public meal organizations very much need a support, guidance, and networks in incorporating environmental targets and strategies in their main task of serving nutritionally adequate meals. This is a theme of today, so it matches very well. Authorities need more knowledge on the public, on food and public meals to prioritize better and send right messages to the food service providers. Luckily, there are existing variety of actors such as national agencies, national authorities, NGOs, that they are already acting, they have active support role. But we still think that one place would be beneficial to all. So there would be a increased benefits from accuracy and availability. And for such, we have our Sustainable Public Meal Toolkit. Then all the actors could and should cooperate better to tackle possible lack of experience, motivation, and knowledge. We talk here about the whole BSR, so region with very diverse countries in the development of sustainable public meals. And then we think that municipalities and food service providers should be able to respond quickly also to challenges affected either by legal regulations, new regulations, or social changes, as well as different crises. And so our project StratKit Plus is planning to address all of those and to contribute with the variety of ways to increase sustainability of public meals in the BSR. Sustainable Public Meal Toolkit. It already exists. You can find it at sustainable-public-meal.eu. This is the result of Interreg BSR project that was running and finished last year for 3 years, 2019-2021. This toolkit includes 52 tools in 7 languages. They are divided into 8 different gateways, and actually I have here they're written down because they are a lot of them were set today. So the gateways are strategies for change, public procurement, communication and capacity building, organic food, healthy and plant-based diets, food waste, resource efficiency, and working with farmers. And now I will have a video.
All around the world, millions of kitchens provide public meals for pupils, senior citizens, hospital patients, police officers, public administration staff, and many more. These canteens create a lot of jobs along the food supply chain. However, they can also create a lot of emissions, require resources with negative consequences for the environment, and, if not well balanced, affect human health. So what can you do? Let's look at Tom, who leads a hospital canteen. He is passionate about the quality of the food his team provides for the patients and staff. Recently, he learned that a more diverse and plant-based diet is healthier and beneficial for the climate. But how can he change his menus? What will his team say? And the customers? On the internet, he finds the Sustainable Public Meal Toolkit. He selects a range of options and talks with his team to find out which tools suit them best. In the end, they adopt 3 tools: a cooking workshop for the kitchen professionals, aimed at helping them prepare more balanced, plant-based meals, tasting sessions for the patients and hospital staff to find out what they like, and attractive new bowls and plates to make the served food more appealing. Tom and his team are happy with the changes and are now thinking about implementing further tools. Meanwhile, Sarah works in the procurement office of the local government. It recently published a sustainability strategy asking all sectors, including the public sector, to take action. Therefore, she is looking for suitable procurement criteria for the new school canteen. In the Sustainable Public Meal Toolkit, she finds a list of sustainability criteria. Together with the head of the school and the legal officer, Sarah adapts some of the criteria according to their wishes. A year later, the school catering team receives a prize from the government. They have implemented additional sustainability measures, and all of the teachers and pupils have joined in with activities. Tom and Sarah are pleased with the results. Now they invite you to do the same. Choose tools, adapt them to your needs, and get started.
I hope you agreed that this was a very positive video. So those tools, I hope you will check them yourself. They are very simple. One could argue too simple, but of course they must be easy to adapt to different environments, to different countries. But yeah, so one can think is a good practices written down in a systematic way under 8 different thematic gateways, and the previous project was piloting many of those, so there are some photos, there are some videos, but let's move forward now when everything it works. So what we are doing now, we are happy to start our Interreg in the new program, program 21-27, within the innovative societies and the responsive public services. And I think this is a small difference between us and the BSR Food Coalition. But we are starting with the StratKit Plus. Where is the plus coming? Yes, with the StratKit Plus project, small project. But as you will see, we are definitely not a small consortium. We are 14 partners. Many of us are, or half of us continue from the previous project that created that wonderful video and the toolkit. But what was important was to expand. There was a geographical expansion, and also which means that we got Swedish partners that we didn't have before, as well as Latvian and Lithuanian partners. But also within the countries that were in the first StratKit project, we searched for new partners, especially at the municipal level. So in bold, you can see our new partners, and the normal font are the old partners. And I am delighted that we share a partner with the BSR Food Coalition, being the Voru Development Center. But we also share a partner with the School Food for Change, being the Stockholm Environmental Institute Tallinn Center. So I think we are very well situated between those 2 projects. So yes, we are 14 partners within this small project scale from all the EU BSR countries. But we also collected a quite long list of associated organizations, mostly from the countries that do not have that much of partners themselves. So that, for example, from Germany, we got a strong support at political level. But yes, so we have, yeah, we are missing. It's not all countries have the associated organizations, but for example, I could imagine that cooperating with the BSR Food Coalition in a way could make many of you our somewhat of associated, unofficial associated organizations. So those gray spots in Estonia and Lithuania could be filled. We are big partnership, but we are this triple helix structured. So we recognize that we of course we need the local government and the service providers, being the Baltic restaurants, Estonia, but then in order to support them, we need then universities and research institutions. So there is quite a clear division in a different character of partners. And we are happy that the municipalities that are involved are of a very different size, from capitals, larger cities, middle-sized cities to small cities in rural areas. We have recognized 3 main target groups: local public authorities, infrastructure and public service providers, and then the third one, education, training centers and schools. I don't want to too much repeat myself, because in the beginning I said what we want or how we want to support them, but local public authorities.
I'm really sorry, but I think that we have problems with the internet connection somehow, because you're stuck in some spaces. But
okay.
I will inform you if anything goes wrong, okay? Because some part we cannot hear what was presented.
Okay, I'm very sorry.
However, it works well. So okay, please continue. Sorry.
No, of course, good. At least I haven't received any information that it would be on my behalf, but yeah, you can always stop me and I can repeat something. So yeah, 3 target groups, and the local public authorities being the municipalities.
Ursula, sorry,
yes.
It's not yours. The other, I see the other from the chat already writing it. They hear you fine. It's ours here. We have some interruption, but please continue.
I will. Yes. So we want to make the support material, training material, well, a couple more tools, but that I will also say later. But we do believe that local public authorities require support in their national language, and that's on one hand a small challenge for an international project, because that requires a big time and resources in order to translate everything what we create into all BSR languages, but this is what we recognized. So we have 5 representatives of local public authorities within our consortium as partners, and 1 as an associated organization. Infrastructure and public service providers, they, as it was said many times today, they are very important. I love the idea of appreciations dinners for them. And they also actually in some of the countries they require definitely national language support. So there is a pointless to invite them to English language workshops or send them English videos or notes. So this is also something that we recognize, that there are countries where the infrastructures, which means the school chefs, as was nicely said today, yeah, they need our support, and this is our role to provide the support. And especially within the COVID pandemic, we found that they had additional stress in some countries. They were quite, yeah, they were very vulnerable. The level of stress, the uncertainty, and then on the other hand, the requirement to follow up the very changeable regulations, whatever the school is closed, is it open, do they provide a meal, do they not provide a meal, and so on. So we hope also in a new crisis management package to to really also ease their work in the future. And of course, then schools as one of the example, because this is maybe a small difference between our project and the two others, is that we have a bit broader point of view. But of course, schools are one of the most important public meal places in most of the countries, not all BSR countries, but most of them. I have, yes, a couple more minutes. So I was actually thinking to really present you what we're going to do in quite a detail. So we have, as a small project, we have only one work package, which is the Sustainable Public Meal Toolkit, Further Developments, Overcoming Challenges and Crises. And the work is divided that we first do the geographical expansion towards Sweden, Latvia, and Lithuania, meaning, first of all, simply that the existing toolkit will be translated, the changes will be uploaded to the online toolkit, but also we hope for there will be some content change, because we need to include those country systems in the general descriptions, and this work started already now. Then our, even though it wasn't, well, we are not calling it piloting anymore, because it's a small project, but all the municipalities we had, they were very much interested to do something in practice. So we thought that we will keep testing the existing tools and make maybe videos, more photos. Maybe we will correct one tool or such. So we will pretty much take those good examples that we already recognize and then implement them in schools, in hospitals, and whatever the given municipality is interested. And as in the first StratKit, we will put a lot of emphasis on this international or transnational good practice exchange. So it is important, and you can always see from where a given tool comes from. So then you can, if you are interested, to follow Sweden, which we don't yet have, but we will have. But if you then follow Finnish tools or Estonian tools, so you always know the country of origin. And then this, well, I hope no one here gets offended that in the previous project we had Russian partners. So at the moment, the toolkit is also available in Russian, but we are not, of course, continuing that practice anymore. Open call content expansion, and this is kind of advertisement to all of you. I've already heard many good practices, what you guys are doing, and very soon we will open let's say online form where you could pretty much send us your ideas, your good examples, and we would make out of those tools. We have promised to add up to 10 new tools in all the languages, and those tools, well, first of all, they are plain text, but of course all photos or videos are, if you have any, are more than welcome. So I will definitely use the BSR Food Coalition and school food for change as a kind of channel to disseminate this link for that open tool content expansion. Yes, and based on that, we will get this updated sustainable public meal toolkit. Something that we didn't have in the past, we were running, of course, within the COVID times. It has influenced our project a lot, but we never really targeted the COVID itself. We only saw on aside how it's difficult for the canteens, how it's difficult for the cities, but here and there we have approached or we saw that someone has the support package. I'm very sorry. I have to open a door. Seems that my grandma didn't get keys. But yes, so we promised a crisis management support package. We are not having the resources to make, let's say, to create those, but we are planning to search among the BSR cities examples of already existing crisis management content plans, and then translate them and share them also as a good examples. And by crisis, of course, first crisis we think is a pandemic and a school closure, but of course with the war in Ukraine, this puts quite many of our countries and municipalities sometimes in a also quite stressful situation. And the last action will be training sessions, networking activities. So we want to spread more the word about the toolkits and help maybe people to really get familiarized with it. So this also, you will be more than welcome. Those very often will be online and in the national languages. So I will also definitely send you guys some links. Where to find StratKit Plus? We had StratKit EU webpage in the previous project, but we are not really developing this anymore. But nonetheless, you can find their inspiration. So there's anyway like good practice already database, and anyone can actually add there even now the good practices if you want to share. We have created a network being like map of people interested in the topic. You're also very much free to pin yourself in there. We have a Twitter account that is the old project, but this is absolutely no problem. So you can find us there in Twitter as StratKit. And the most important, the actual work that we will do is the sustainable public meal toolkit. It's running. You can download the tools in a nice format that you choose, and then just keep your eyes on the new tools that will come up. And yes, I am a deputy project manager, but the project manager is Leena Viitaharju. So if you also would have some inquiries, then please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ursula. We had, I'm sorry, we had big problems of hearing all of the presentation. Don't know what's happened, but at least the ones who are joined online, they have heard all of it. So what I will do next week, we will have a summarizing, summarize everything that has been talked about, and I will ask you, contact you directly and get more information so I can share to all the participants. Yes. So we haven't had a really clear idea. Everybody hasn't that yet, but I just want to ask them, this is a toolkit. You have just started in Lithuania and Latvia.
Yes.
With this new second project.
Yes.
Can I, Ursula, let's say maybe if you switch off your camera, that might help. See if this will help.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So this is a toolkit to use exactly as the video showed. Different ways. If you want to make changes in the public meals, there are, how to say, different kind of tools you can support with. I'm more this with the public procurement part. So the nice lady that was sitting and can you
Sarah,
give a bit,
yes.
Yeah, yes. Can you give a little bit about one of the obstacles is the public procurement part. So if you can just any best practice there from any country, how does this work?
Yes, public procurement is very tricky, and you can imagine why. Is because it's so heavily regulated, and the regulations were very different in a different country. We have if
we're losing you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. We don't hear the answer, so I'm really sorry for this, Ursula. So maybe I don't know how we can do this. Maybe we can have say, I can ask you the questions and then maybe by email a little bit, and then I will distribute the answers.
Let's do so. I sent you the link also in the chat soon
Yes.
to that toolkit for the public procurement. But I was just saying it's tricky, and it's not that direct support. It's not that you do A, B, C, because there we say you do have to know your field. So this is, you know, up to wherever it's possible. But now I sent you first the link. I'm very sorry you have those problems.
Now I hear you fine.
Yep.
I think.
But I hear you all the time, just well. So it's tricky.
Everything went smoothly today. We had no interruptions. This is the nightmare, I think. At least, how to say, we got some information and links. Let's do it like this, Ursula, because we just hear 3 words, 4 words, and then we don't hear more. Take this conversation outside, and then I will share the information. I see the links. I will share all this information as well with all the participants. So Ursula, if I understand you hear me and I don't hear you, but thank you so much for joining. Still here. Hold on here. We have, hold on, just one short break here, because I see that something is happening with our connection here, internet connection.
Okay, but still we have to stream live. So is there this person who has to present now?
Yes, okay, we will try the last one. Cyril is Ursula, I hope you heard what I said. And Cyril is the last one trying now. I will welcome you, Cyril, to the stage, but I will let you know if we will have issues and we have to stop you and try maybe with another internet connection. So yes. I'm really sorry. It's not a good kickoff. Thank you. So Cyril, introduce yourself and let's say what happens. And we can see if you have a presentation. First of all, I can see if that will be visible.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen. Well, first of all, hello everyone. Thanks for having me. Sharing some thoughts on this very interesting project that has so many connections with the different speakers that I can make to what I'm going to talk about. I would like to begin actually by introducing someone else. This is Marcus Nilsson. He's my neighbor. So he lives in Malmö, in the south of Sweden, and he's a cook or a chef, like we say in Sweden, like it was mentioned by Ulrika before. He's a chef in a school that is down the street from where we live, so it's about 100 meters, and he's been there for many years. 3 years ago, he decided that he wanted to take a year off and pursue one of his kind of long dreams when it comes to food, and that was to grow his own food and therefore to become an urban farmer in Malmö. And so he did this, and for 3 years he had a farm about 1,500 square meters, about 2 kilometers away from the school where he used to work. And during these 3 years, the last one was a bit special because he did this part-time. So part-time he was working as a chef in the school kitchen, and part-time he was working as an urban farmer. And the result of that for him has been, now he has stopped because he got his 3rd kid and that was a bit too much. But during these 3 years, he didn't manage once to get the food in the school, in the kitchen where he was working. He only managed to work with one private school that was close to his, a bit closer to his farm. And that was a big frustration for him. And of course, that brings the question that we've been discussing a lot today, which is, why is it so hard to connect local producers with local schools? So before I jump into my angle on this question, I'm just going to introduce myself shortly so that you understand from which angle I'm talking from and what are my bias on these topics. So my name is Cyril Gobert, and I'm French, but live in Sweden for the last 6 years. And I've been working around food now for a while, and I have 2 main focuses. The first one is small-scale entrepreneurship. So companies that want to start small, want to remain small, and reach a sustainable economical point. My main focus has been through food and farming companies. And then I've also been very interested and very involved in food ecosystems. And that's talking not on a European level, but very local at the city level, eventually region, because they tend to touch each other. So these are my 2 kind of main focus. And the experience I've acquired has been done through 3 main steps. The first one dates quite a while back in Paris, where I had a graphic design agency, nothing to do with food or farming, but here I worked with a lot of small entrepreneurs and starting to see patterns that people constantly repeated and that often led to companies not lasting more than a couple of years or longer, but then people would just about survive. And I thought that was a very interesting topic, being a small entrepreneur myself. Then for the last 6 years, I've been working at an organization in Malmö called Botillenborg, which works with food and farming. So around the concept called social gastronomy. So how you can use food and farming as a change maker. And I've been mainly responsible for the project called Stadsbruk, which has throughout Sweden and Norway looked into how we can improve the urban farming ecosystems so that more and more farmers can get going and succeed in providing better local food. And lately, I've been involved in a new organization, which is called the Malmö Food Council, which looks again at this kind of ecosystem level. How can Malmö solve the food problem at the ecosystem level? I will talk a little bit more towards the end of the presentation about what food councils are, if you're not familiar with it. So back to the question of why is it so hard to connect local producers with local schools? And here I won't say that I'm going to skip what I would call the prerequisites, which have been, although they're complicated to get, but which have been discussed already today quite a bit. So for example, the procurements. If there are no ways for schools to legally buy food, it will never happen. But eventually it's coming and we're getting there. And at the same time, if you don't have local farms that produce good, healthy, ecological food, then this question cannot be solved. So I'm going to assume that we've reached that point where you both have local farms and a good procurement system. And I'm going to focus more on what problems will one face then, because this is only systemic problems. What will happen then between the relationship between a small-scale farmer and a school? And this we can look at how it's been with other type of institution and other types of companies throughout the last years. And what I would like to share with you is 3 lessons, three things we've learned from having worked with about 100 farms. I would say I've been working with now between Norway and Sweden. 3 ideas for that one can start to implement, and then 3 things to look forward to maybe in the future, things that we think are solutions and we are starting to implement in our ecosystem, and that maybe you will find interesting for the project that you are entering. So I will also say that some of these things might sound very obvious, and I've been repeating this now for many years when I do this, when we run our incubators for the farms. But what we see is that the more obvious it is, the more we tend to miss it and oversee that it's an important thing to look at, and we tend to focus on things that maybe are less obvious, but that are much harder to implement. So the first thing is more of a mindset, I would say. And this is that continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. This is something that we really try to have in mind all the time with what we do. And it's really the idea that through these projects, and I've been like you in many of these projects with big consortium and a lot of actors, we easily get lost on the thinking the solution, and the implementing part can be quite difficult and come quite late in the project, which often goes with the project ending and having a hard time pursuing it later on. And so we like the idea to be very hands-on from the beginning, even if it means not being at the heart of what we are trying to solve, but at least we're getting going and we're starting to solve problems on the ground, so to say. And so, for example, when it comes to the schools, for us here in Malmö, we know that we cannot sell to the public schools until the procurements are being solved. It's just a dead end. So we focus on private schools, and we know our goal is public school because it's a much bigger market and more kids will benefit. But we know that private school can find more flexibility. So we started there directly and starting to build momentum. And what we hope is that if you can find a good system with private schools when public schools are ready, then of course you will be able to implement much faster. And so this continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection is really something that a mindset that we find very efficient to not get too frustrating for the farmers. Because one of the things that we see is also that we're on different time frames, time zones between institutions and farmers. Institution, they look at years, decades, sometimes even more. You know, we're all talking about 2030. A local farmer is looking at the coming weeks and how the weather is going to be and things like this. And so it can be a very frustrating process for farmers to be involved in long-term solutions because they need kind of short-term things to happen. A second point is to anticipate failure. Because as good as the solution is, it will always fail at some point. And we find that a lot of farmers have now decided that they don't even try to approach some of the bigger institutions, whether it's schools or other things, because they feel like maybe I will not be able to deliver what is expected of me, and therefore I don't want to put myself in that situation. And there is a very easy solution we find to anticipating failure. Let's say that you've planned with the school that you're going to deliver 20 kilos of carrots on a given week, let's say. But then, the weather has not been good. You've had, I don't know, rats, rodents, or whatever on the farm, and you won't be able to deliver. So what do you do then? Because of course, if you don't have a B plan, the problem is that it shows that, oh, this can never work. Small scale farmers are not reliable, etc., etc. But we see that if we plan that there is a lot of failures in the beginning, then things are much smoother. And the way we do this is very simple, is to say that there are already existing systems on how to order food for schools or businesses. And so the only information we need to have is how soon do we need to communicate when I know that I can't deliver. If you need 2 weeks to order to go to your B plan, then we need to tell you 2 weeks in advance. If you need 2 days, we tell you 2 days in advance. And whatever kind of failures you see might come, you just want to make sure that there is a B plan integrated from the beginning. And this will make everyone much more secure in starting to implement new things. And I think it was Ulrika earlier who mentioned this, that if we keep doing the same things, things will never change. We need to start implementing new things. But the truth is, with new things, they sometimes don't work. And to not kill the dynamic, make sure one has a B plan. I'm also going to jump a bit. You hear me well, Jennifer? I'm getting a bit of an echo from someone.
It's not from me. I have
no, it's okay. I'll just go with it. Shared responsibility. I think this one is very interesting because it's can be a bit complex. This is the idea that we always frame the question as how do we get more local food into the schools? But that's already one-sided question. That's assuming that the food has a system and the local farmers are going to come in the system. One could also frame the question saying, how can local schools welcome more easily local food or from local farmers? And it's this idea that the system is not built, as we've said with procurement, the system is not built for small-scale farmers, but it's much deeper than this. The way the food is handled in the kitchen, the way the people are trained in the kitchen is not made for small-scale farmers or smaller quantities and things like this. And so one needs to look at the whole scale of, if we want this to happen, what are the different responsibility that people need to take? And here I've listed 3. Of course, depending on the context and how far along one is in the process, it can vary. But I think it's important that especially when speaking directly to the actors who will be hands-on, that they understand that everyone will need to make a step forward towards the other one. And this might take time and it might be a frustrating process, but it is needed. So for example, if I take it from the top, placing orders will be more complicated if you work with a variation of local actors. And of course, you can have platforms like it was mentioned before that will start to come in place. But our experience is that you cannot beat the current system. You can go at 11 o'clock in the evening, you can order your food and it will get delivered the next day at 7 a.m. This will never happen with small-scale farmers. You need much more planning. You may need to make more phone calls. There's more work that needs to be done. And that, of course, has a cost, but that never tends to be included from the beginning. But we think that it's a very important step. If you've ever seen chefs and farmers work together, they speak on the phone all the time, because there's a lot of synchronization to do. In the kitchen, menus need to be more flexible, because of course the food might not come exactly when planned. So one needs to be able to change menu, and you can't just plan the menu for 3 months ahead, because most likely your small-scale farmers might not deliver exactly on time the quantities that you need. So chefs or cooks needs to become chefs, like it was mentioned earlier. And we also see that often, if you order from small-scale farmers, you will get the vegetable you will get will not be so standardized. They tend to bring everything to their customer, meaning a carrot might have a lot of different shapes. And currently, if you look at what most, at least here, people receive in their kitchen, they receive the standardized carrot that has the same weight, the same size, the same caliber, etc., which means that the food preparation is very quick, almost industrial. And one needs to accept that preparation will take more time. And that means also more skills. So when it comes to training of the staff in the kitchen, there's also a lot of things to be learned, we believe. But then looking at the farmers, that also means that they need to work more consistency, because of course it will help the process. A family with 2 kids is happy to get a carrot that has 5 heads and a lot of mud, because you can clean it with the kids and it's fun. But if you deliver this to any businesses, at some point it becomes problematic. So there needs to be also better work done towards consistency of the products and better crop planning. We find that many farmers lack good skills at crop planning, and that they don't know when things will be ready, and they haven't anticipated certain events. And it's something we talk a lot in our incubator for urban farms, is how to do really good crop planning to be on top of your season. And I think here is really an improvement that farmers that many farmers can, a challenge that they can take on. I want just to give a quick example. On the left here is Saba Nazarian. He's the head farmer at Botildenborg, where I work. And to the right is Frida Nilsson. She is a chef in a restaurant, in a hotel restaurant in Malmö. And of course, this is not the setup of a school, and we know that we can't reach exactly the same setup. But what's interesting with restaurants is that they really have this, they really want to work with farmers, and they have the flexibility to do it. So if we look at the type of solutions that they come up with, some of them we can definitely inspire ourselves when it comes to working with institutions. And we've been working 5 years now with MJs, and the relationship has evolved from, they have a menu, we have products, when it matches, we can sell them the product, to them requiring a few products and us trying to grow it, and when they're available, we give it to them, and they kind of adjust their menu based on this. But now what we do for the last 3 years is that the farm and the restaurant do the crop planning and the menus together as a common thing. So earlier it was discussed, I think, as part of the toolkit, that people were getting chefs together to design the menus together within season. I believe you should involve farmers in that process, because if you don't synchronize with what's going to grow in your region, you can make the menus that you want. At some point, you will have some kind of friction. And so common crop planning is a very interesting process, which not only benefits what are grown and when it's grown, but also the connection and the understanding between those two key people who are the chefs and the farmers. Diversified revenue stream. This is mentioned already in the current project, and we see this as the main reason why farmers will succeed in being economically stable. If they cannot diversify their business, and we're looking small farms here, we mainly work with farms that are less than 5,000 square meters, and these small farms, if they don't diversify their income, it is really difficult to become long-term sustainable. And so all that means is that maybe you sell food, the margins are quite small, but it's still money coming in. But if you can sell lectures, workshops, all these things, the margins that you make on your time is much more interesting. And when working with schools, I know this is already part of what you are all discussing, to include this kind of knowledge section is something which I believe should also be taken right from the beginning and planned within, just like one delivers food, they will also deliver these visits to the farm, etc., etc. And that might mean that the farmers need to, some farmers are not, trained to give maybe study visits. So it's one thing that one can help them to a skill that we can help them to improve. But if this is included right from the beginning, we see that that makes a huge difference. To deliver a bit of food to a school with 5 workshops and 5 lectures during the year will be on the short term much more efficient than delivering a lot of food and nothing else, because you will relieve an economical pressure on the farmer. And one thing not to forget is that I believe that the farmer should also be included on such meetings or such kickoff like we have. There's a lot of us working on these ecosystem levels and intellectual levels on these things. And I think that to invite them to come to these meetings and to talk and present is a way for us also to contribute economically to their business, but also to see that they're not just a word on our presentations and that they get included. And I think that is not being done enough. It's not always possible, of course, but I think that would be a very interesting process to include them, just like we could include the chefs, for example. So this was just 3 very, like I said, kind of, I think they're quite basic and obvious, but we see that they're really hard to implement if you don't work actively towards doing it. But looking more at ideas, things that we see will improve the system radically, more than looking at the lessons we've learned. I want to share 3 things that we're currently working on and that we really believe will make a difference. The first one is a farm chef position. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is something that is just starting to pop out here and there. And this is the idea that between a farm and a restaurant, you have overlapping work. So if you're a farm, you harvest your vegetables, and then you will do all your post-harvest work. So cleaning, prepping, putting it in a box, sending it into the kitchen. And then it comes to the kitchen, and then they take the vegetables out. Most often they wash them again, and they prepare them the way they need them to be prepared for their menus. And so the farm chef position is the idea that it's a person that is working part-time in the kitchen, part-time at the farm, which means that they're able to be very aware of what's coming out of the farm to communicate with the kitchen, so relieving the main farmer from this role. But they're also able to teach the people at the farm how to do the prep work so that it matches the kitchen. And so in the end, it's a position where the cost can be shared between the 2 institutions, and that saves time and therefore money. And we are strong believers that this position will develop in the future, because it is such a what would I say, a facilitator in the collaboration. An alternative to this, if one farm or one restaurant cannot take the responsibility for a farm chef position, it would be to have prep kitchens. That maybe it's a place that is also shared between the people buying and the people selling, but a place where the food is centralized, prepared, and then dispatched. So one would reach a bit of a middle point. So one of these 2 things we believe should come into action at some point, because it makes everyone's life much easier. But it's a bit hard to get going because, of course, it's a position that is not super well known. And for people to take the responsibility of someone working only part-time and part-time in another organization is a bit strange, but something to work on. The second thing is SSA, school-supported agriculture. So just like you have customer-supported agriculture, where people own a share of the farm, or at least a share of the harvest. We do this with companies, and I think schools should at some point be able to do such a thing, so that they would economically invest in the harvest of the farm. And that for us is a natural development. After you start doing crop planning together and things like this, you want to kind of engage really long term, and that I believe would be the most sustainable long-term system. And of course could be a consortium of schools with a consortium of farms, but at least the direct connection would be very, very strong. And maybe it would even help with some of the legal issues around procurements, because if they own part of the farm, or if they're involved indirectly to the farm, maybe food can be transferred a bit differently, legally wise, I mean. And the last point is the food councils. And this is what Ulrika was also saying with mission-oriented change. We see that we have a problem in all of our cities where I've been working, mainly Gothenburg, Malmö, Oslo, Bergen, is that the food question is owned by so many people. And at the same time, it means that it's not led by anyone. And it's very difficult for one given organization who has its own goals and own agenda, whether it's a public or private, to kind of take the leadership on the whole range. And so the idea with the Food Council, which is a type of organization that already exists in different countries such as Germany, England, Switzerland, is really that you have a neutral organization, member organization, in the center of all the other stakeholders that owns the question of food, and that is able to, take the 5% that this organization has to work with food and make it synchronized with the other person who has 10%, and really be the oil in the system. And I was mentioning earlier this thing with timeframes and languages, that different organizations don't speak the same languages because they have different goals, they are financed differently, they have different resources. The goal of the Food Council is to do that, is to be a translator. It's a small organization, but it really tries to look at all the friction points and facilitate it. And I believe that after projects stop, for example, there's this big problem of where does the knowledge go and who keeps on delivering it to the right people. And I think that food councils will be a future solution to this. So these were one mindset, 3 lessons, and 3 ideas that we have learned here in Sweden and Norway over the last few years.
Thank you so much, Cyril. My first question, do you have any good practice you can share, Malmö Stad and Botildeborg?
the good practices that we have are not really on food delivery, so to say, like delivering food to the kitchens. The way we've been doing it is through school gardens. So if you can get, it's much easier for a school to buy a pedagogical, not sure of the wording, pedagogical service than to buy food, because, well, like we said, this is quite a stuck thing. And so to use other activities in order to serve lunch to the kids. So when, for example, at Gothenburg, we have a school garden, and when the kids come, they eat. They make the food and they eat, which means at least there's 1 meal per week that is sourced at our farm in Malmö, for example. So I think this is something that could be pushed a bit more, because a lot of preschools and schools maybe have too little outdoor activities as well. And so to organize these visits to the farm that would include food, I think is a way to get maybe 1 meal a week, 2 meals a week that are like the best possible local ecological version. And of course, one should bring the pedagogues, ideally the chefs, as part of the thing to start creating the bond.
You have different activities, how to say, for children. You have also the part of friends. Isn't that something like to stop a little bit? Bullying is another kind of farm to school program.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Odla Kompis is maybe what you're referring to. Is that part of it? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's this idea with social gastronomy. How do you put food in the middle and then do other things? So this Odla Kompis, or what did we call it in English? Growing Bodies, was this idea that people meet people from different horizons. So it can be kids and adults, it can be immigrants and people who are well established in Sweden. They meet around a little piece of around our farm, and they both farm together, and then they cook together and they eat together. And so that's a way also to bring food to people's table without having food in the center necessarily, but food as a tool. And I think this is a bit more of a, I would say, what do you say? A grassroots way of looking at things. If you can't get food where you want, how can you hack the system to get still food to the people? And I think there's a lot of interesting ideas to be found around this, like organizing more events and things that school can take part into, and then have food served at that event. That's a way to I think that's a very powerful tool until the legal stuff is being sorted.
Why I mention in particular this one is because children are affecting each other, and Lithuania, I know from a lot of conversations about people's children, ladies, is about the children don't eat the food. There's a lot of food waste in schools. And this is the thing when farm to school programs like this that the children interact with each other, and a part of it, there's also the financial difference between children. You know, some parents are more, how to say, financially more stable than others. And these kind of farm to school programs make children interact, but also give the opportunity to eat the same kind of healthy nutritional food. And this way they can also bring this, you know, in a further step, involve the parents to cook, etc. So there are many successful stories. I am from Sweden, so today we had a little bit more of the Swedish focus, but there are many other regions who have really good successful stories. But I want to summarize, thank you so much, Cyril, so please continue listening. I want to summarize that this farm to school program, what we want to do now is not something that it's 2 years project, and we have to be realistic. We can't change everything, but it's a good start. So yesterday I gave to all the project partners different kind of perspectives that they can start seeing, not seeing a huge uphill, how difficult it's not, but start small. So just a farm to school program, exactly what Cyril said, start working with some small farmers and this planning the crops, and planning in this way, also planning the menu. As exactly what Cyril said, that many farmers, they don't know what they will have. And I work both with the restaurant industry, I work with more than 500 restaurants, and they're all saying the same thing. They can't order from the smallholder farmers because it's what they're going to, if they get delivery, if they get the quantity they want or the quality they want. But there's no one nowhere I'm getting the information that exactly planning together with the farmers, educating them, workshops together, and thinking long term. So a farm to school program can also be about this. So there are many, many angles to this and many, many directions, and we're just at the starting phase. So today, I think it's okay that we had some technical issues, etc., but I think it's a good start. What is going to happen now? So thank you again, Cyril, for we will involve Cyril more during our 2 years process, and also she's the two of the speakers that were here. What's going to happen now is a little bit of wrap up. You had an overview from the regional partners. You had a little bit, we went to the Nordic countries to see what's happening there. The Klaipėda University over, it's time to do a little bit survey workshop. For those of you that are online, I will send you by email, most probably, some survey questionnaire after sometime next week. It will be very, very helpful if you could also help us out. We will have just to give you a very short, what's going to happen these 2 years. Today we have been hosted as the lead partner at Klaipėda University. Then we will gather in February / beginning of March in Latgale, visit there and have a framework ready. May next year, if everything goes well and no failures, we're physically starting implementing the test beds, the farm to school programs. So each region will ideally start working on two test beds each. So one will be focused on the farmers and one will be focused on boosting food literacy onto children. So it will be a whole year, spring 2024, we will have some cases, some studies to be able to physically, we will go and see some of them in Estonia and see what the result will be and improve the framework before we finish the project. After that, the framework will be available for all the municipalities in the partners regions. So, and by then we have figured out how you're going to use it. So thank you for me. Now I'm going to lead the lead partner. Everyone who has joined online, thank you very much. And I just want to, I hope it was really been rewarding. From the Tartu region, I will be in touch with all of you as well. Thank you. So if there isn't anything you want to add for online, I don't have my glasses on, so please don't write on the chat. Just say it loudly. I'm seeing something happening. Is there anyone from online who would like to add something?
I would like to add something, Jennifer.
Yes.
Thank you. From the lead partner position, I would like to thank once again partners. Thank you, Jennifer, for interesting perspective from Sweden, from what is done. Now we will continue to work here, but I would like you all to plan physically or online, participate in our big, huge international conference where we are planning a section of this project, first survey results, which will be in March. We will update you with the information. I think that it will be really useful to see what started in the kickoff and what we managed to do, and this will be a position for us to move forward. So thank you once again, and now we will work in the groups. We have a huge auditorium. It's a shame that you cannot see, but we're also fully working here physically. So thank you once again. And maybe someone wants to ask some questions, yes, because I see in the chat now that everyone is thanking. Okay, thank you very much and see you. Yes, hello, I see that Tartu is still here and some other colleagues and visitors. So we are just discussing with the social partners that are here, necessary to get the feedback from you. We will share the surveys, we will ask the comments, we will ask to fill them in as soon as possible. Don't think that it has to be done now or tomorrow. But we would like to get them back like on the second week of November latest, if it's possible, because we have to update them and just work with the information. So thank you once again.